No gain for the Dodgers and no gain on the magic number in the NL West. But we have a lot to talk about. We put out a call for mailbag questions and you guys provided them. We're going to talk about the postseason rotation, a look at Shohei Ohtani and what the Dodgers have in mind for him, and what 2024 could look like in Los Angeles. That's what's on tap. So let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And we have an exclusive group of listeners called Everydayers, people that listen every day. You can be part of that group just by listening every single day. And if you want help in listening every single day, you can subscribe and get notified when our episodes are ready for you, which is every Monday through Friday, usually by the morning time. So if this is your first time listening watching, I'm Vince Samperio, joined by my co-host Jeff Snider, and we are both lifelong Dodger fans that have watched a lot of Dodger games. We watch a lot of Dodger games right now. We've covered the team. We've been in the press box in the locker room, been at Camelback Ranch, talked to players. We've done a lot of different things, and we're not quite insiders, but we're here to bring you what we think is knowledgeable takes about the Dodgers and things that you can take to your friends and family and sound like knowledgeable Dodger fans if you're not already knowledgeable Dodger fans. So that's what we're here to do today, and with some help from you guys, because you guys submitted questions for us to answer. The Dodgers did not play on Thursday. The Diamondbacks lost, but that just puts them behind the Giants. So magic number for the Dodgers remains the same. They still have a chance to clinch this weekend if a few things go their way.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's likely necessarily that they clinch this weekend, but it's definitely possible because I guess the Giants have 4 games with the Rockies, including a doubleheader. Doubleheaders are always hard. So basically, if the Dodgers win 2 and the D-backs and Giants each lose 2 this weekend, then the Dodgers clinch the division. It's just formality at this point. I mean, the Dodgers could do what they did against the Padres the rest of the season, and the D-backs and Giants could both go undefeated, other than when they play each other, and the Dodgers would win the division. So, not worried about it, but it'll be nice when it's finally over with, because then we can watch the fun of Dave Roberts trying to talk Freddie Freeman into taking a day off.
Yeah, it's more a matter of when, not if, at this point. You know, we've talked about NL West titles and celebrations before, and they've been a little bit more subdued in recent years. But this year, I'll be interested to see what they do when they do clinch the division, just because there's so many young guys and there's some different, David Peralta, I don't think won the NL, or at least not recently hadn't won the NL West in Arizona. Jason Hayward hasn't been part of a division title for a little while. They got a bunch of the young guys, like I mentioned. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm sure it'll still be a little bit subdued, but they'll get their fun in if to let everyone celebrate.
Yeah, the Dodgers have had 16 rookies play for them this year. Obviously, not all of them are on the roster right now, but there are plenty of young guys, and I think this team is pretty live in the moment, appreciate things as they come, and so for as much as they celebrate doubles, I think there's a lot of fans who wouldn't want them to even do a Freddie dance when they clinch the division, but there's going to be some dancing, there's going to be some drinking, and they should absolutely celebrate every milestone, and hopefully get to celebrate 1, 2, 3, 4 times this year.
Yeah, ideally. All right, let's get into our questions. We put out a call. You guys put in some questions, and we actually were able to kind of put them in somewhat of an order in sense of similar types of questions. So we'll go with the big question that we've talked about a lot, and we'll talk about more right now. We got one question from Stacy. We got a question from our buddy Kevin, both talking about playoff rotation. Stacy asked, who do we think our starters are going to be for the NLDS and what order? And then Kevin said, what would your ideal 4-man playoff rotation be?
Yeah, and I think if there's a 4-man rotation, it's as of right now, it would be in some order: Clayton Kershaw, Bobby Miller, Ryan Pepio, and Lance Lynn. And if I was guessing the order, I'd probably flip the order I said those first two guys and go from there. I'd say Bobby Miller, Clayton Kershaw, Ryan Pepio, Lance Lynn. That would be my best guess. Um, some of it will have to do with matchups. Some of it will, uh, in the NLCS, I think they might, I think Lance Lynn would definitely be the fourth starter in the NLCS, and possibly the guy who they think about skipping if situation warrants it, if they're playing the Braves. But yeah, I think Bobby Miller has, and the way they're lining them up right now, I think Dave Roberts said the other day that they're kind of looking at Bobby Miller the first game of the postseason, and then Clayton Kershaw after that. And I think that's how it should be. Based on how they've pitched, how they're pitching right now, what gives us the best chance to win, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, obviously the first starter of the series is, a big deal, and giving that to Bobby Miller. But I think it also benefits them if the series did happen to go to 5, at least in the NLDS. Bobby Miller's stuff is going to play on the road. Kershaw is good on the road and has been on the road, but he could benefit from a little home cooking. If he pitches game 2, he can be ready for game 5. Bobby could be 1-4, and his velocity is going to play on the road and at home. It's just a matter of how he harnesses it. So I think that would make sense. Again, Pepio, Lynn, there's still a few more starts here before the end of the season to kind of determine what else is going to happen. There's might be some piggyback opportunities. There might be, different ways of doing it. We've talked about it a lot, how whoever starts the game, even Miller and Kershaw, it might not even factor into how the game ends up being determined because, with Kershaw, we really don't know what we're going to get right now. We might get, he might be able to go 5 innings, or he might be, tired out after 3. Like we don't know. With Miller, it's a rookie. You don't never know. Pepio, same thing. And then Lance Lynn, he's going to be able to throw you 100, 115 pitches. It's just a matter of, do you want him to throw you 100, 115 pitches, depending. So there's a lot of question marks there. But yeah, I think, Miller, Kershaw, Pepio, Lynn would be the order if they're going to go for it right now.
And they'll have some combination of Emmett Sheehan and Michael Grove and Ryan Yarbrough and, possibly Gavin Stone, possibly Kyle Hurt. Those guys, multi-inning relievers / piggyback / starting the second half of the game, whatever you want to call them, those guys available. I think that's more than the rotation. I think that's going to be the fascinating part, is just how the overall pitching staff is built, which, we've talked about quite a bit in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it still remains to be seen. Joe Kelly came in the other day, struggled a little bit. His arm is essentially similar to Kershaw, where it's not going to get better, but he's going to be able to tolerate it. But if he's not effective, we might see Kyle Hurt back up. If Yency Almonte said that, at this point, he's shooting to just be ready at any point in October, not necessarily the start of October. So that pushes one down. Do the Dodgers trust Vassia? Do they trust Ferguson? Do they trust these guys? Who knows? Or do they want to go with the young guys who have a little bit more, the stuff is there. It's just a matter of, can they, put it together when the lights are brightest. And, I feel at this point, we talked about it last week. I'm kind of fine with giving it over to the young guys, not every inning, but as much as they can, and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, there's more questions. The next set of questions will be a little bit about Shohei Ohtani. There's been a couple rumors here and there that the Dodgers are still interested and, would they go after him. So we're going to talk about that. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. If you've ever been in an emergency, or, we haven't had a true emergency, at least in California, in a while, but we almost did. There was a hurricane the other day, and what if the hurricane had actually been a real hurricane? Would you have been ready? Food and water wise, you may have. I know a lot of people were out there scrambling for that just in case, but would you be ready in terms of, medications, in terms of antibiotics? Well, that's what Jase Medical is here to help you out with, because modern medical care and treatment are important, but the global supply chains are fragile. So Jase Medical is your solution. All you got to do is go online to fill out their form, and they'll get you a board certified physician to review it and determine whether medications are safe and appropriate. Once they determine that, they'll send the prescriptions to one of their partner pharmacies where your order will be filled and mailed directly to your home. And at any time, you can also send your physician a message for answers to treatment-related questions at any time. Jeff is responsible and he's a dad, and he already got his Jase case. He put it in, got it after a couple of days. So it does work. It's out there. I'm not as on it as Jeff. So I got to get on mine and get my Jase case just in case. But everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using our code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to check us out wherever you get podcasts in on YouTube. Make sure to be coming every day or by listening every day. You can also listen to the home broadcast for any Dodger game with SiriusXM or the SXM app. All you got to do is search Dodgers. If you can't watch, you can always listen with SiriusXM or the SXM app. All right, Jeff, I'll just keep it going with the questions here. We got a few Ohtani-related questions, so I'll read them through, and then we can just talk about Ohtani in general for this segment. So one we got from at B Robles Lalador. He says, could the Dodgers go after both Ohtani and Yamamoto? He mentioned that pitching going to be a big need as we've seen this year. We got one from NXS Kick. If Dodgers sign Ohtani next year, it seems better to have a veteran starting pitcher who wants a year or maybe a 1-and-1 contract who could be a good fit for the Dodgers. And then Corey at the Grizzly Bear Zero says, do you think we'll still go after Ohtani or pass since he won't be able to pitch and get us and be able to get us some other players? So this free agent pool seems to be a good one after the season is over.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. I guess the first question you read was about could they go after both Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto? And the answer is yeah, the Dodgers can go after whoever they want. They have the money. They'll have some money coming off the books. They also have shown willingness to go over the luxury tax repeatedly. Obviously, they'd like to get under it at some point. It's hard to say. I'm actually scrolling right now to see if we've seen any sort of projections on what sort of contract Yamamoto is expected to get. He's been awesome this year in Japan. Basically, he is pitching quality wise, he's probably similar to Shohei Ohtani as far as pitching skill goes. Obviously, he'll be a better pitcher than Ohtani next year since Ohtani won't be pitching next year. For me, the real interesting part when it comes to Yamamoto, in addition to Ohtani, is the Dodgers do have all these young pitchers. And, is Clayton Kershaw going to be back? Are they going to exercise Lance Lynn's option? If so, if both of those guys are back, that's 2 spots. And then they've got 3 or maybe 4 rotation spots left for Bobby Miller and Emmett Sheehan and Kyle Hurt and Ryan Pepio and Landon Knack and Michael Grove and Gavin Stone. They have a lot of pitching, but I don't think they want to go into the season saying, okay, we're just going with all rookies in our rotation. Bobby Miller is the veteran of the staff now. It's they're going to want some sort of more sure things and partly even just to limit innings so that they can, okay, you're going to take a couple weeks off right now. Just, we don't want all these young guys throwing 200 innings next year. So Yamamoto could be a good fit for the Dodgers. I don't know. I go back and forth, Vince, on whether they might go after both Ohtani and Yamamoto. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it seems, I don't know, unlikely I don't know why. It just seems unlikely that they would go after both. The only really money I've seen attached to Yamamoto was a report for like the Yankees, who said maybe they'd be willing to go to like 150 mil or something like that. So, 150 mil realistically is not that much for the Dodgers, depending how many years it is. So and you kind of saw like the Dodgers weren't even really linked to Kodai Senga at all. And he actually turned out to be, pretty solid for the Mets. So, maybe that, if they were weary at all about, talent coming over from Japan, or at least recent talent, maybe that kind of qualms that. There's another pitcher, I forget his name. He pitched in the World Baseball Classic. He started the final game against USA. He's also supposed to come over. So if they want somebody lower tier, maybe more innings wise, that could be somebody, talking about the one. He wouldn't be a 1-and-1 deal or a 1-year deal, but probably cheaper than Yamamoto. And then some of these other players that might be available free agent wise in terms of starting pitchers, there's not a lot that would be like looking for a 1-year deal. I don't think. You got Marcus Stroman, who has a player option, so he's probably going to stay in Chicago. Ryu is going to be a free agent. Martin Perez, Lance Lynn, not guys that necessarily would be looking for maybe 1-year deals or even 2-year deals. And then you start getting down into guys like if Ross Stripling opts out or Andrew Heaney opts out or guys like that. So, or you take a chance on like you Lucas Giolito and see what he's going for, or Jack Flaherty or whoever else. So there's a lot of different ways the Dodgers can go about it, but I think for them it makes the most sense to go get a 1 or 2 at the very least, and then kind of fill in from there. Yeah, I'm mute.
Sorry. Shota Imanaga was the pitcher, left-handed pitcher from Japan. So, that'll be really fascinating. As for Ohtani, going back to the question about will the Dodgers be turned off at all by his injury? I think the answer is no. I do think that his overall contract will be less because I think if Ohtani was fully healthy, teams could have talked themselves into spending what the Phillies owner would call stupid money on a guy like Shohei Ohtani. Like you could delude yourself into thinking, yeah, we're going to sign him for 10 years and he's going to hit and pitch for all 10 of those years. I think it's harder to trick yourself into that, knowing for sure he's not going to pitch the first year. And when he does pitch, he will be coming off 2 Tommy Johns in the last 5 years. It will be, I think it's going to be hard for any team to picture him pitching for more than 4 or 5 years more. And so that will affect overall his contract. He's still going to be an elite hitter, most likely. But if he is truly just a DH, a designated hitter who hits really, really well, it's super valuable, but not, when they were talking about Juan Soto getting a huge contract, that was as an outfielder. And outfielders have more value than DHs. Now, Juan Soto probably ought to be a DH too, instead of hurting his team with his outfield defense, but that's probably a different story. I think Ohtani is going to get somewhere between $300 and $400 million, which is a lot of money. And I think that slots him in pretty nicely for the Dodgers. But like we said before, I actually said this on the radio, talking with a Fresno radio station yesterday. They were talking about MLB insiders saying that the Dodgers have the inside track to Ohtani. I said, well, you got to use air quotes when you talk about insiders when you're referring to Ohtani, because I don't think there are any insiders when it comes to Shohei Ohtani. I don't think anybody who's talking really has any idea what Shohei Ohtani is going to be looking for in terms of dollars and in terms of personal comfort and where he wants to be. And I think that's going to be something that we can all guess and hope and speculate and pray. But at the end of the day, Ohtani is going to sign wherever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. And I've said that before. Like, I don't think anyone has insight. He doesn't even talk to media, really. And other than winning, which I would imagine is the one thing he does want, I don't think anything else can really be taken with more than a grain of salt. Maybe some of the West Coast stuff does make sense because of, the time and people in Japan and being able to watch a little bit more easily. But even then, you never know with what can happen. But I think the other part too is if Ohtani ends up, they're saying he's not going to pitch, he can play outfield. He's played outfield. I would imagine he'd be, halfway decent outfielder. He's very athletic,
but probably not next year.
Oh yeah, not. I'm saying down the line. Like,
yeah,
if you sign him and he doesn't pitch after like year 2, it's not like he's just a DH. He's still be young enough to be an outfielder, but which it does add some benefit, obviously. So, yeah, I don't think the $500-600 million. I never thought that was as realistic as a lot of people were making it seem like, oh, this is guaranteed to happen, because all it takes is one team to do that. But also, like, as an owner, if you're, owners are always trying to save money, whatever the case is, you know, you would say like, well, if no one else is going to pay him 500 mil, why am I going to pay him 500 mil? Like, why won't we just, collude and keep salaries down? Like that's possible. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think the Dodgers are if there's any team that can sign Ohtani to big money and not be affected by him not being pitcher next year, it's the Dodgers because they would still be able to make do with what they have or what else they could add.
Yeah, and I've seen some grumpy Dodger fans upset about how this season has gone because some people always just want to be upset about something, and complaining that the Dodgers punted this season just to save money for Ohtani. And what if they don't even sign him? Then it's just a waste of a season. And first of all, the Dodgers are going to win 90 something, close to 100 games. And second of all, I promise you, Andrew Friedman knows that he doesn't know what Shohei Ohtani wants. And so the Dodgers have not put all their eggs in the Ohtani basket. The Dodgers will be heavily in on Ohtani, but they aren't planning their entire strategy for the next 6 years on getting Shohei Ohtani. They have plans, they have backup plans, and they have plenty of things in the works. So yeah, they're going to go after Ohtani, but I don't think that it's nearly as much a singular focus as a lot of fans seem to think it is.
Yeah. The Dodgers are basically an 85 win team every year. It's just a matter of how much they go above that. So, all right. We're going to talk about 2024 in general. What else is on the lookout for the Dodgers, or what could the rotation look like? That's what's on tap. So keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Remind you to become an everydayer by listening every day. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. Remember, SiriusXM or the SXM app, you can listen to the home broadcast for any game. All you got to do is search Dodgers on SiriusXM or the SXM app, and you can listen to the home broadcast. All right, Jeff, let's finish up with these last batch of questions. Well, these are a little bit different, so we'll go one by one. We have one from our friend Yoli at SoCal_librarian. She says, I realize it's still a while away, but looking ahead to 2024, who do you see as the strongest competitor to the Dodgers in the NL West?
For me, I feel like the answer has to be the D-backs at this point. The D-backs have young talent that is up and coming, and it's not like they're not losing anybody major in free agency, and they have more young talent. They just called up Jordan Lawler, who's supposed to be a stud shortstop prospect. They have done a very good job rebuilding their team, and so they've built that team to be good for a while. As far as keeping these guys under contract when they hit free agency, we'll see if they can do that when that time comes. But right now, I'd say the D-backs are most well situated to compete with the Dodgers next year. Obviously, the Padres are going to try to. They have a lot of good players under contract next year, but they also have a lot of good players under contract this year, and that didn't work out so well. All those players will be a year older. Blake Snell will be gone. Some of those key players will be gone, and there's questions about their ability to keep spending to replace guys because they are spending so much on the guys they currently have. So they have some decent prospects, but overall, I don't expect the Padres to be bad next year. I expect them to be better than they were this year because I think they're a better team than they've shown this year, even this year. And then the Giants, you never know. Nothing about them screams they're going to be good next year, but they were good in 2021. They're reasonably good this year, so they'll be somewhere. And then the Rockies will probably still have a team next year.
Yeah. Yeah, the Giants are interesting. Like they will have like Logan Webb and the young guy Kyle Harrison. Like that's a solid 1-2 punch. they'll, probably find a few random guys that end up having good seasons. They hope that some of their other guys have seasons, but like you said, you never know. The Padres, there was someone from Reddit put out like the reverse standings. If you reverse all the 1-run score games, and the Dodgers would have the exact same record. They're 14-14 in 1-run games, but the Padres would be right behind them in the thick of it for the NL West. So, that obviously it's partly, they don't have the bullpen maybe, and their team doesn't have. I don't think they're like one of the worst teams from behind wins, but that could change next year. But yeah, I think the D-backs, I could see him going after Blake Snell or one of the other starters, adding them next to Zach Gallen, letting all the young talent flourish. And I think that'd be the team I'd be worried about, because they probably weren't, or they started off a little better than they were supposed to be. And then they just they lost it. Then they came back to it. So we'll see if they end up making the playoffs.
Yeah. Another question from John Chang at JHN Chang 17. He said, how much interest will the Dodgers have in Cody Bellinger this offseason, given the current outfield depth and the possibility of needing a first baseman in a few years when Freddie's contract is done?
I don't want to say none, but I don't think there's a lot there, just for the simple fact of he's going to have a lot of people after him now. The Dodgers aren't going to get into a bidding war for him. And it might just be a matter of, that we think that ship sailed, and, we wish him well the rest of his career.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I love Cody. And if he had a solid season, but not remarkable this year, I think the chances actually would have been better for the Dodgers to bring him back. But he has had, he's going to get MVP votes this year, and he's probably going to finish top 6, 7 in the MVP voting. And so I think that probably he is going to get a big contract, and it will be a contract that he's still going to be Cody Bellinger. There's going to be ups and downs with Cody Bellinger, and I don't think the Dodgers are interested in getting on that train at that price.
Yeah. This one we kind of talked about. We can just give real quick thoughts. What will the rotation look like in 2024 from Mr. J. Will 79? I think it's a combination of some of these young guys, one free agent that's at the top of the order, at the top of the rotation with Walker Buehler, and then one other veteran that they kind of fill in maybe as a 6th starter swingman type.
Yeah. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of youth. I expect them to use 10 or 11 starters next year by design. And that's even if guys are, they're not going to have totally healthy pitching staff, but if guys are as healthy as you hope they are, expect them to be, they're still going to use 10 or 11 pitchers to start, because they're going to have so many guys. And so it'll be fun to watch, because they are kind of laying the foundation for the future of the team. And, it's not hard to picture, Miller and Pepio and Stone being, I wouldn't put quite Hall of Fame expectations on by comparing them to Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz, but that sort of backbone of a pitching staff.
Take the A step down, Mulder, Hudson, Zito.
Mulder, Hudson, and Zito. Yeah, that's a good one. 3 guys who were Hall of Fame talents at certain points in the career, never quite made it there overall. But yeah, that sort of pitching staff. And then you've got guys who aren't in those 3 who also could be really, really good, because, Kyle Hurt didn't get mentioned there. Emmett Sheehan didn't get mentioned there. Landon Ack didn't get mentioned. Nick, what's his name? Nick Frosso. He's a name we haven't even said today. Like, that guy is River Ryan. So yeah, there's a ton of potential for this Dodgers pitching staff going forward. And I think next year, to the chagrin of a lot of fans, I think there are going to be a lot of young guys getting starts, and there will be some growing pains. There will be some bumpy starts, as we've seen this year. But I think they've done a good job of kind of easing some of them in, so that Bobby Miller has gotten a lot of those bumps out of the way. Ryan Pepio is getting those bumps out of the way. Gavin Stone has gotten some bumps out of the way, and they'll be, so it won't be all of them taking their lumps at the same time next year.
Yeah. All right. Last one real quick from Matthew. How far do you think Dodgers get in the playoffs? For sure NLCS, and then I think that's kind of the big question, is what's going to happen in the NLCS.
Yeah, and I am just very practical speaking. There's no point in me thinking anything other than they're going to win the World Series, because if they lose in October, I'll have time then to be sad about it. Until then, I'm just going to assume they're going to win the World Series, and I'm going to enjoy it when it happens.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for all your questions. We appreciate them. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. The Dodgers are in Seattle this weekend playing against the Mariners, trying to, if they lose, they can hurt the Astros. So, if we'll see what happens. But reminder, SiriusXM, SXM app. If you can't watch the games this weekend but want to listen, they got you. All you got to do is search Dodgers, SiriusXM, or the SXM app. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vincent's91. You can DM either one of us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. You can also send us an email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail or send us a text at 323-863-LOCK. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, tell your smart device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you on Monday.